There's a quiet law working beneath everything we do, an invisible power shaping the course of our lives. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but it's always at work. And that power is your mind. The thoughts you hold, the pictures you form inside your imagination, they quietly construct the reality you experience tomorrow. Most people wake up every morning and rush into the noise of the world. They grab their phone, scroll through headlines, get caught in traffic, complain, and repeat. But the rare few who have discovered the secret I'm about to share, they live differently. They understand that what you think about, you become. That every result, every piece of your success or failure started as a single thought in the quiet of your own mind. Earl Nightingale once said, "We become what we think about." It sounds simple, maybe too simple, but behind those 6 words hides the most powerful truth of human existence. Because if your thoughts have created your current life, then by changing those thoughts, you can create an entirely new one. Pause for a moment and imagine that. Imagine your life as a mirror reflecting exactly what you've been thinking about the most. Your health, your relationships, your finances, they're all outcomes of mental patterns repeated over time. If you've been feeding your mind doubt, you'll find evidence of doubt. If you've been feeding it success, you'll begin to notice opportunities everywhere. This isn't fantasy, it's psychology. Modern neuroscience now confirms what ancient teachers already knew, that your brain literally rewires itself according to your dominant thoughts. You become programmed by the stories you repeat internally. So if you keep saying, "I can't," your subconscious makes it true. If you begin to say, "I can," and "I will," your subconscious starts aligning everything around you to make it real. Most people never realize this power. They live on autopilot, driven by yesterday's thinking. They keep replaying the same internal movie, the same worries, the same fears, and they wonder why their life doesn't change. But those who pause each morning and take control of what plays inside their mind begin to separate from the crowd. Every morning is a doorway, a quiet moment where you can reprogram your destiny. Before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, ask yourself, what kind of thoughts am I about to feed my mind? Because your mind is like soil. Whatever seeds you plant, whether they are seeds of success or failure, it will grow them with perfect precision. If you plant negative thoughts, don't be surprised when negative results bloom. If you plant positive, powerful, focused ideas, your life begins to transform from the inside out. This is what Earl Nightingale called the strangest secret. It's not strange because it's mystical. It's strange because it's so simple that most people overlook it. They look for complicated strategies, secret formulas, and hacks, but forget the oldest truth. Your thoughts create your world. Think of it this way. Every skyscraper in New York, every song that has ever inspired millions, every invention that changed history, all began as a single thought. An idea formed in someone's mind. The rest, the design, the effort, the persistence, came later. But the spark was always a thought first. Now look at your own life. What are you thinking about daily? What beliefs are you quietly rehearsing every morning when no one is watching? Because that's your future being built right there in your mind. Most people will spend more time choosing what to wear than what to think. But your thoughts determine how you see the world, how you respond to challenges, and how you attract opportunities. If you fill your mind with chaos, your world becomes chaotic. If you fill your mind with purpose, your world starts to organize itself around that purpose. The universe, or what some call the subconscious mind, does not argue with you. It simply accepts what you continually think and turns it into reality. If you constantly think, "I'm unlucky," life will keep proving it to you. If you think, "I'm capable, I'm moving forward, I'm grateful, then somehow doors start opening where there used to be walls. Earl Nightingale used to say that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Not luck, not chance, but a steady unfolding of a vision held clearly in the mind. When you hold that image long enough, when you believe in it deeply enough, your actions begin to align naturally. That's the hidden power of your thoughts. They don't just influence your attitude, they shape your destiny. They whisper instructions to your subconscious mind, guiding your behavior, your emotions, your energy. And soon, your outer world begins to match your inner vision. But here's the catch. You can't fool your mind. You can't say one thing and believe another. You can't claim to want success while secretly fearing failure. Your mind responds to your dominant belief, not your wishful thinking. So the real work begins in silence, changing those internal programs. Start each morning by visualizing what you truly want. Don't just wish for it, see it, feel it, believe it. Act as if it's already unfolding. Because when you act from faith instead of fear, you activate a different energy, one that attracts rather than repels. The most successful people in the world, from business leaders to artists, all have this one thing in common. They learned to master their thoughts before the world recognized their talent. They built the belief first, then the results came later. You see, success doesn't start with doing. It starts with thinking. You don't have to work harder. You have to think better. Your thoughts are the blueprint. Your actions simply bring them into form. Now, take a deep breath and imagine if you spent the next 30 days controlling your mental diet. What if you refused to feed your mind anything negative? What if every morning, instead of opening social media, you opened your imagination and filled it with pictures of the life you truly want? You'd begin to notice subtle changes. You'd speak differently, carry yourself with quiet confidence, and people would start to respond to that new vibration. This isn't magic, it's mental conditioning. It's what Earl Nightingale meant when he said that the mind moves to what it's most familiar with. So, make success familiar. Make confidence familiar. Make gratitude your default setting.
There's a quiet power that never stops working, a force so subtle, most people live their entire lives without ever realizing it's there. Yet it's the one thing shaping every experience, every success, and every setback they face. That force is the power of your thoughts. Every morning, as the sun rises and the world wakes, a hidden decision is made inside every person's mind, whether they know it or not. They choose, through their focus, what kind of day they will live. Some people choose worry, others choose peace. Some choose purpose, others choose confusion. But what few realize is that by choosing their dominant thoughts, they are choosing their future. You see, the mind doesn't take days off. It's always working, creating, connecting, and interpreting the world around you. It translates your dominant thoughts into emotions, those emotions into actions, and those actions into results. The moment you understand that link, life begins to change. Morning, the hour of power. Each morning, you're gifted a blank page, a chance to write a new story. Yet most people, without even realizing it, start reading yesterday's script all over again. They replay the same doubts, the same disappointments, the same fears, and then they wonder why their life looks so familiar. Earl Nightingale once said, "Whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become reality." That isn't poetry, it's law. It's the same principle that makes a seed turn into a tree, a dream turn into a career, or an idea turn into a movement. So if your mornings have become routine, mechanical, mindless, it's time to reclaim them. Before the noise of the world enters your mind,
Spend 10 quiet minutes alone with your thoughts. Sit by a window, breathe deeply, and begin to create your day on purpose. Ask yourself, what do I want this day to mean? How do I want to feel as I move through it? What kind of energy do I want to carry? Don't rush for answers. Just imagine the version of yourself who already lives with calm, purpose, and confidence. See that version clearly, because the more clearly you can see it, the sooner you can become it. The science of thought and destiny. Modern neuroscience now confirms what Earl Nightingale knew decades ago. Your brain cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. When you visualize success with emotion and consistency, your mind begins to believe it's already happening. Neural pathways form, behavior aligns, and the subconscious begins working day and night to close the gap between vision and experience. That's why worry is so destructive, because it's imagination used in reverse. When you imagine negative outcomes, your body reacts as if they're real. You begin to live the fear before it happens. But when you use imagination constructively, picturing confidence, peace, and success, your body follows that command too. You begin to act as if it's possible, and soon it becomes inevitable. You become, quite literally, the architect of your inner world, and by extension, your outer world. Thought by thought, day by day, you sculpt the life you live. Repetition, the language of the subconscious. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to words once. It responds to words repeated. Just as muscles grow through repetition, beliefs form through continual exposure. So, what are you repeating to yourself daily? Are you saying, "I'm not enough, I never get a break," or "I'm always stressed"? If so, those aren't just passing thoughts, they're programming. And your subconscious, without judgment, will accept them as instructions. But you can rewrite that code. Start by replacing those statements with stronger ones. I'm improving every day. I'm becoming more focused. I'm open to opportunity. At first, it may feel forced, and that's normal. You're teaching your mind a new language. Keep speaking it until it becomes native. Because your subconscious doesn't care whether what you say is true or false. It only knows what is repeated. So give it truth worth believing. The garden of the mind. Picture your mind as a garden. Every thought you think is a seed. Every emotion you dwell on is the sunlight or water that helps it grow. If you plant weeds, negativity, doubt, fear, they'll grow quickly and take over everything. If you plant flowers, gratitude, courage, purpose, your mind becomes a peaceful place, filled with color and possibility. Now, imagine walking through that garden every morning. Would you want to spend time there? Would you feel inspired or burdened? If the answer isn't peace, it's time to start pulling weeds. Eliminate every thought that doesn't serve the life you want to live. Replace it with one that does. This is the quiet work of success, invisible to others, but powerful beyond measure. The habit loop of success. Human beings are creatures of habit, not just in what we do, but in what we think. You can't expect new results from old mental routines. If you wake up every day expecting struggle, your mind will find that. If you expect progress, your mind will find that too. Here's the secret. You don't need to control every thought. You only need to choose your dominant ones, the ones that you repeat the most. Those become your identity. So instead of trying to silence every negative thought, just make your positive thoughts louder. Repeat them, write them, speak them out loud. Because the more familiar your mind becomes with success, the more uncomfortable it will feel with failure. This is what Nightingale meant when he said, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal." It's not about instant change. It's about consistent progress towards a vision that matters. Aligning thought, emotion, and action. Thoughts alone are powerful, But when they're combined with emotion and action, they become unstoppable. Emotion gives energy to thought. Action gives it direction. Think of emotion as the wind, thought as the sail, and action as the rudder. Without all three working together, the boat doesn't move. So each morning, choose a thought that inspires emotion, something that excites or moves you. Then, take one small action aligned with it. That single act, a message, a workout, a journal entry, turns an invisible idea into visible momentum. And that momentum becomes confidence. Confidence doesn't come from success. Success comes from confidence. And confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself over and over until your mind learns that you are someone who follows through. Guarding the gate of the mind. In this world of constant noise, protecting your mental environment is no longer optional. It's essential. Every piece of information you consume is either feeding your faith or your fear. Ask yourself, what am I allowing into my mind today? What voices am I listening to? If your newsfeed is filled with negativity, if your circle is filled with complainers, your subconscious is being trained to expect chaos. But when you fill your mind with ideas of growth, gratitude, and excellence, when you listen to voices that uplift instead of drain, your energy changes, and so does your reality. Earl Nightingale once said, "Your world is a living expression of how you are using your mind." So guard it carefully. Be intentional about what you let in, because what enters the mind eventually shapes the man. The power of belief. Belief is the ignition switch of achievement. Without it, knowledge sits unused, talent stays dormant, and opportunities pass unseen. Belief doesn't mean arrogance, it means alignment. It means trusting that what you think about, you can bring about, not instantly, not magically, but inevitably, through persistence, clarity, and faith. Every invention, every breakthrough, every act of greatness began with one person who believed when no one else did. They thought differently, they spoke differently, and eventually, the world caught up. The same power lives in you. Right now, you're just one belief away from a new level of life. Change the thought, and the path changes with it. The patience of thought. One of the greatest lessons Earl Nightingale ever taught is this: just because a result doesn't appear instantly doesn't mean it's not working. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust the process. The same is true of your thoughts. They need time, repetition, and faith to take root. So don't get discouraged if your life doesn't transform overnight. Every great change begins invisibly. It starts in the unseen soil of your mind and blooms in due time. Success doesn't happen suddenly. It happens silently, through small, consistent acts of thought and belief, repeated each day. Living as the architect of your destiny. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of it. Your thoughts are the blueprint, your actions are the construction crew, and your results are the building that stands.
So choose your design carefully. Don't live someone else's blueprint. Don't build a life based on what the world says you should be. Sit quietly and ask, what kind of life would truly fulfill me? Then begin thinking, feeling, and acting in harmony with that answer. Not someday. Today. Because success isn't waiting in the future. It begins in the present moment, with the thoughts you are thinking right now. As you go to bed tonight, and as you rise each morning, remember, your mind is the greatest creative instrument in existence. Whatever you feed it, it will grow. Whatever you focus on, it will multiply. You cannot think failure and live success. You cannot think fear and live courage. You cannot think small and live big.
The choice is always yours, and every choice begins in thought. So think deliberately, think beautifully, think powerfully, because your life, in every sense, is the reflection of the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind. And the person who learns to master that has found the real secret, the secret Earl Nightingale discovered, lived, and shared with the world. The hidden power of your thoughts is not a mystery. It is a responsibility. It is the quiet knowledge that no matter what the world gives you, you can always decide what to think, and therefore, what to become. So tonight, before you sleep, and tomorrow when you wake, choose thoughts that serve you. Because they are not just thoughts. They are the seeds of the future you are about to live.